to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel, where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like, remember to subscribe, remember to hit that bell notification so you can be notified whenever we drop new content. You know, of course, drop your thoughts in the comment section about the videos, about the fights we discuss and everything. Without further ado, let's get into it. Weekend just gone, Saturday just gone. It was, of course, King Ryan Garcia versus Luke Cool Hand Campbell, should I say? What am I saying Campbell for? But anyway, yeah, so the fight took place on the weekend. It was fire versus ice. It was the young man who all the guys were talking about, the favorite, the guy that, sorry about this, I put my lights on. But yeah, it was the guy that was hyped up in Ryan Garcia, who Oscar De La Hoya believed in, who they're all talking about. You know, going into this fight, Ryan Garcia was sort of the clear favorite as far as the bookies were concerned, as far as a lot of boxing insiders, journalists and stuff were concerned. You know, Garcia was the favorite going in. But for me, the X factor with this fight was that on paper, Luke Campbell had sort of fought the better names. He'd been in there with Lomachenko, been in there with Linares. He held his own against both of those guys. Both of those guys had hurt him at some point, but he was able to recover. He was able to come back. And those, you know, those are two of the best in the division. Linares, Lomachenko at the time was the man. He was the man in the division. So I thought to myself, right, although they're saying Garcia's a favorite, you've got to give Campbell a very good chance. And I thought maybe a marginal favorite to me. I can see why people say Garcia, because he's got the potential, he's got that lightning speed, and you can just see that there's something in this kid, there's something about this kid. He's got the character, he's got certain things about him, certain qualities. But again, for me, he had it all to prove. And the good thing for him was that in this fight, he indeed proved it. In this fight, as it opened up, the pattern of it was Luke Campbell, nice high guard, good southpaw lead, and Campbell had that good hand positioning that I would sort of recognize from the amateurs, hands up high, putting his hand in Garcia's face. I felt Luke Campbell could have done a bit more jabbing in the throughout the fight. I thought the double jab would have served him very well, but he was holding a very high guard, sort of trying to lure Ryan Garcia onto counter punches, trying to lure him onto that counter left hand, and he was boxing very comfortably, sort of within himself, wasn't really committing too much, wasn't really doing a great deal of work, but you could see that he was sharp, he was focused, and he done quite well in the opening round. It was quite even. I think I kind of gave that to Luke Campbell. Second round rolls around, more of the same. High guard from Luke Campbell, poking a jab at him every so often. Garcia sort of committing himself, coming in sometimes with the chin held quite high up, and Campbell sort of saw his mistake, done a little feint, caught him with a nice looping left hand. It was kind of like a cross come hook punch that he put Garcia down with, and I was very impressed with that because it was quite a heavy knockdown. Luke Campbell, Garcia was saying before the fight that Campbell is not going to be able to hurt me, not going to be able to do any damage, and you know, I wouldn't go with that, but I know that Luke Campbell is not really a notable puncher, so you know, you could understand that logic. But Luke Campbell proved that he can bang a bit, punched, knocked Garcia down with the left hand, and Garcia comes up again, and you could see that Garcia was hurt, but he wasn't completely out of it. He was he maybe wasn't ready for the taking, but Luke Campbell to me made a bit of a mistake in that when Garcia actually came to his feet, Garcia attacked the fight as if he was the one who knocked down Campbell. You know, he really sort of took the bull by the horns. He was a little bit more careful, but he was still on the attack. And I felt that at that point in the fight, Luke Campbell needed to sort of attack Ryan Garcia. He needed to go after Ryan Garcia once he had him down, and he did hurt him. It was a shock to the system for Garcia. It was a punch he didn't see coming, but I think although he wasn't completely finished, I think Luke Campbell could have been would have been better off going on the attack. Maybe not recklessly, just wildly swinging, but even with straight shots or even with body shots or something. I think at that point, he should have put it on him, and had he put it on him, we would have gained a bit more of his respect. But Garcia, you know, he showed absolutely no respect. Next round comes around, you know, Garcia still walking forward. You could always see through this fight, Luke Campbell was doing very well with the counter punches. He was landing several counters on Garcia, he was making him miss. But Garcia was pretty much willing to just walk through whatever Campbell had and to sort of try and land his own. So there was a bit of defensive errors by Ryan Garcia in that he was sort of overconfident in a way, and he was walking Luke Campbell down throughout the whole fight. But Campbell, because he was sort of holding his hand there, and I honestly feel that had Luke Campbell have sort of used the double jab, or had he just sort of stepped in with the jab, as you get taught that in the amateurs and in boxing, I think that's one of the key things that he could have done to discourage Ryan Garcia, because Garcia was so super confident in spite of the fact he'd been knocked down, and I think there wasn't enough there from Luke Campbell to discourage Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia was just confidently walking him down throughout the entirety of this fight, in spite of the fact that he'd been hurt, in spite of the fact he'd been knocked down. He just spent the whole fight sort of coming after Campbell. He made errors, he made mistakes, but at the end of the day, he was on the front foot, and I felt Campbell just needed to do that bit more. I understand that he must have felt the power of Garcia. I understand he knew that Garcia could punch, and Garcia was faster, and I suppose that's why Campbell was more laid back or more reserved. But in my view, I think he should have just been that bit more assertive, especially with the jab. If he'd have just, I think, stepped in with the jab, even if it misses Garcia, even if it didn't hit him, or it wasn't a very sort of hard jab, as long as it was a punch that sort of got his attention and caused him to move back, I think that would have stood Campbell in good stead to sort of stand a chance of winning this fight, or stand a chance of impressing the judges. I mean, the zone commentary they weren't giving Luke Campbell anything really. I mean, they were just giving sort of every round apart from the knockdown round to Garcia. So I guess even in the case of the judges, Campbell would have needed to be that little bit more aggressive, or just let his hands go that bit more. And I think that was kind of what was missing from Campbell's performance. Garcia, on the other hand, as this fight wore on, he just kept coming forward. He would land his shots, have his success. He would get countered by Campbell, but he would just keep coming forward, confident that he could take whatever Campbell had. And the end came in round 7. It was a bit back and forth on our scorecard. We had it we had it quite equal on points, or maybe Garcia up by a round or something, similar to Gareth A. Davies' card on the night. And as round 7 came, Garcia continued to pressure Campbell, continued to push the pace, and Campbell continued to be kind of reserved and kind of laid back. And I think, for me, I don't know whether he'd have won if he was more aggressive or not, but I think he would have made it closer than what it was. He would have stood a much better chance of winning with more aggression. And what happened in the 7th round, beautiful shot by Garcia to the body, one of those beautiful liver shots. And what he done, he acted like he was going to hit Campbell with a left hook to the head, and Campbell braced for the head, put his hands up, and as soon as he'd done that, Garcia just whacked him with a shot to the body. Lovely left hook to the body, and that was it. That was good night for Luke Campbell. That was all she wrote. So overall, it was an interesting fight. Overall, it was quite an entertaining fight, and it was overall a coming of age fight. Ryan Garcia came of age. It wasn't a perfect performance by him, but it was a good performance in that he showed the heart of a champion, in that he was willing to, even the knockdown didn't discourage him. He was like, I got knocked down, I'm coming up, I'm gonna get you, and I'm gonna have you up, and I'm gonna beat you up. And he just had that attitude, that heart of a lion, that no matter what happens to me, wherever you throw, I'm coming forward, I'm gonna hurt you, I'm gonna get to you. He did walk onto some shots. He showed some defensive sort of fragilities, he showed some defensive weaknesses, but he showed the heart. He's only a young kid, 22 years old. He after the fight, he called out Tank Davis. They were talking also about Devin Haney. I guess with his sort of dimensions and everything, I think the Tank Davis fight would be a great fight. Tank Davis is a puncher. He'll be more of a challenge than a Luke Campbell. You would probably have to favor Tank Davis just because of his world title experience. But in terms of size and height and reach and strength, Garcia is definitely the bigger man, and if he can box and box clever and keep Tank Davis at the end of his punches and use his sort of counter punching ability, Tank would have to sort of lunge in and he'd have to make a war of it, make a fight of it. But someone with Garcia's dimensions, if they can box and use their boxing skills and use their height and reach and all their physical advantages, it would be a very rough night for someone like a Tank Davis because they're that much shorter. And Garcia is fast, he is quick, and he is strong, and he can pop a bit. So I'd really love to see that fight between Garcia and Tank Davis, or even a Devin Haney. But for me, the Davis fight is what I'd sort of prefer. So anyway, there's the sky's the limit for Ryan Garcia. Great, good performance by him. Not perfect, but he's a young man. He's still learning on the job. Luke Campbell's the best guy he's fought, the highest caliber he's fought, so you can't really fault the performance. And overall, you've got to give him respect. Still respect to Luke Campbell. Where he goes from here, I don't know. He'll have to go down a level, I suppose, but nonetheless, that's just my thoughts on this. Good coming out party for Ryan Garcia, good coming of age performance by Ryan Garcia. Campbell was decent, but again, not good enough, not enough fire in the belly for Campbell. I think he would need to be a bit more aggressive, but again, it's one of them fights where the better man won on the night, and the better man on that night was Ryan Garcia, and that's all she wrote. So until next time, that's my thoughts. This is MKO Pugilism, over and out, and I'll catch you on the next one.